What is going on, family? Welcome back to the channel. And as the crypto fear and greed index starts to come into fear, what's in store for this market? Where do we go on from here? Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're doing well. I'm your boy DXB Crypto. Please like, share, and get the message out to as many people as possible. While Israel and Iran dominate the majority of the headlines, of course, Trump coming into the war, could the exchanges and market makers cause extreme fear? 37, we've only just dipped into fear just about now. But first of all, let me give you the hopium. Let me give you the best case scenario. $100,000 has become a rock of a level for Bitcoin. We have shared this with the community several times, and I have said this is always going to be a level that we've never flipped $100,000 level into support, and that's literally happening, right? You could see here, despite the fears in the market, you can see that we went down to 98,300 yesterday, and of course, that at the time the fear and greed index level was at around 45 to 43. Now, where do we go on from here? Well, first of all, let's talk about Bitcoin's historical resilience in the face of such crisis to understand whether crypto is done. But before I do that, there is one more interesting chart which I want to show you, something that people need to pay attention to, and that is the stock market. The stock market hasn't really gone into complete, it did have a pullback, and of course I gave you those levels, and I did say that we are likely to pull back into this 5,700 region. This thesis hasn't changed for a very, very long time. But let's go back to Bitcoin. What has happened in the history of Bitcoin to suggest that Bitcoin and the market structure will remain for at least what's left of this bull market? Okay, so Bitcoin in its short history, illustrious history, I may add, there's been global macro and geopolitical events, bit like what we're seeing right now, bit like Kenan and Kel. It's been through the soap opera, and of course, US entering this war is nothing new. And of course, I want to give you some reassurances of the list of events that Bitcoin has gone through. Okay, in 2011, the European debt crisis, that was huge. Credit crunch. We were just coming out of the 2009 crisis, of course, and then Bitcoin suffered this huge. Again, at the time, you could only buy it from the dark web anyway, but there was the European debt crisis. In 2013, Cyprus bank crisis, banks froze deposits, and of course, Bitcoin pumped as a result. Of course, Cyprus at the time was a global banking hub. 2015, the Greek capital controls, ATM limits pushed interest in Bitcoin. That was another crisis. In 2018, China trade war. So for those of you who think tariffs have just entered the market right now, well, tariffs have been around before. And in 2018, Trump did hit a ridiculous amount of tariffs with China. And the instability indirectly impacted Bitcoin's price. Then we had the big one, 2020 COVID pandemic market crash, where Bitcoin dropped 50% in March, then recovered to ultimately end up finishing the cycle at $69,000 plus. 2021 global and 2022. So after printing so much money, then we had Bitcoin facing global interest rates, inflation, and of course BTC dropped and then into a bear market. But it came back stronger. 2022, Russia, Ukraine, probably the most relevant of these crises. BTC dumped initially, then used in a humanitarian aid, cross-border transfers and other things, and BTC went on to recover. 2024, Gaza war, Red Sea crisis, Iran escalation. This is all linking back to 2024. Bitcoin nearly doubled. And of course, you've got 2025 right now. You've got tariffs, Middle East tensions again, Iran, nuclear crisis. So Bitcoin is resilient despite global fears of this war escalating. We're seeing here alarm grows after US inserts itself into the war against against Iran. And, this is not, at the moment, traffic is flowing in the Strait. You could see here, but it's not as usual busy itself. I mean, normally this is one of the busiest routes in the world, and it's super, super clear that they are waiting after the Iranian parliament did pass the law saying that it has every right, and now they can close the Straits of Hormuz. But again, 20% plus of the world oil supplies go through here, vast majority going into the east, in particular to China. So there has to be some kind of consensus between, the Chinese, the Russians, and the Russians will absolutely love for these oil prices to go insane, right? They've been under sanctions. So there's a lot at play. Do they temporarily shut this, mine it, or whatever they're going to do? Nobody knows yet. But so far, they have chosen not to do anything absolutely insane. So what do I see happening? Well, there's going to be tons of shorts. So this is the Ethereum price, and I'm giving you clear levels here. Of course, ETH has to claim this level around 2400 level to flip bullish again. Otherwise, a rejection around these areas. It's already been rejected from the first level here. Second level is that 22,900. But I'm expecting us to retest this one more time. So one more time. And that's why there is an opportunity. This is not a bearish video, by the way, but I do expect some kind of an impact to the pricing in a very short time. So how does that play out? Well, it all depends on what BTC is doing at the moment. As you can see, Ethereum dominance was 8% yesterday. It still remains relatively low, and I do believe there's more room for Ethereum dominance. Hence, alts will also start to come down a bit more. Of course, the total 3, like we said, we were expecting to actually look at this. Look how beautiful this is. So what I said to the team was, this is the mid-range, really need to claim back this, descending channel. Of course, we dipped below it, as you can clearly see there. And right now we are sitting around the bottom of that, hopefully testing it one more time before we hopefully claim mid-range. But you could see a further breakdown for alts is absolutely possible. Is absolutely possible, guys. So you have to keep everything in mind. If you look at the live bubbles, you can see the market is coming down. New York session is going to open soon, which means there's likely to be some type of reaction, either a pump or dump, but it doesn't even matter. Again, I have tons of stuff. Smart money flow. Guys, look at the link in the description. Get Nansen.ai for you to have such a good intelligence. You can see money flow into outflow from Apu into Neat. What else is getting? Dupe is getting some love. And we see all of this. This was, I wish I had this tool at the beginning, but Nansen.ai may be just what you need in order for you to take the noise out of crypto. And I use that every day with smart money decisions. I wish I had this last year because it would have made a ton of difference. Again, total crypto market cap has lost a bit. But how do we go? Where do we go from here? How do we really, how do we make money in such a market when it's so topsy-turvy? Of course, it's been manipulated. Exchange loved the low volumes over the weekend. So it was a manipulator's market paradise over the weekend. But I do believe the decision to start this war ultimately will cost a lot of people to leave the market, and those that are actually betting on, things like regime change in Iran and all these things that are happening. If we find peace, the bullish structure for the market remains. As simple as that. If we continue to stay in this conflict for a lot longer, and the US has actually signaled, and it's funny how these guys have obviously done this, and now they're kind of using, other methods. But I thought this was incredibly interesting because now all of a sudden, if the nuclear threat doesn't work, right? If the nuclear threat doesn't work, then what? What comes next? So I do believe at some point they will close, or they will absolutely, everything is in it for them to try and strike back but we haven't seen that so far. The only thing we've seen is the trading of blows between the Israelis and the Iranians this morning with several missiles. But have a look at this.
Point about their capabilities to respond, the intent of their proxies. Is there any kind of command and control structure left to activate them?
Yeah, well, we'll see what Iran decides to do. I think they should choose the route of peace. We've done everything. We have bent over backwards, okay, to create a deal with these people. Steve Witkoff has traveled the world extensively, met with them. Well, not even met with them, met through the Omanis with them and discussed back and forth. We even put an offer to them that they wanted elements of it in writing, and we offered it to them. Very generous offer, by the way. We've done it, and we're prepared right now. If they call right now and say, we want to meet, let's talk about this, we're prepared to do that. The president's made that clear from the very beginning. His preference is to deal with this issue diplomatically. But he also told them we had 60 days to make progress or something else was going to happen. And I think they thought they were dealing with a different kind of leader, like the kinds of leaders they've been playing games with for the last 30 or 40 years, and they found out that's not the case. So this mission was a very precise mission. It had 3 objectives, 3 nuclear sites. It was not an attack on Iran. It was not an attack on the Iranian people. This wasn't a regime change move. This was designed to degrade.
How can it not be an attack on Iran? What are these people smoking? I just don't understand, guys. You know, maybe I don't, you know. And then anyway, later on, he goes on to say that it's up to the Chinese to step in. Well, the Chinese aren't bombing anyone, right?
Let's bring in senior fellow at the Center for Security Policy and author of When China Attacks, Colonel Grant Newsham. Colonel, good morning to you. Thank you for hopping on with.
When he attacked Iran. The Iranians have been at war with us for 45 years, 46 actually. They've killed some thousands of Americans, injured and maimed a lot more, and nobody ever did anything other than to send them pallets of cash and try to negotiate a deal. And here you had someone that attacked them. So China was looking at Taiwan also and thinking, maybe the Americans aren't that serious. And this has raised some doubts in China's calculus when it comes to Taiwan, when they look at what's just happened in Iran. But of course, we have to see how this plays out, because China has been very happy to have the Americans occupied in the Middle East. That means you can't pay as much attention to the Western Pacific, to Taiwan.
That's a great point on how this could go one way or the other. And before this strike, Colonel, there were reports of Chinese cargo flights nearing Iranian airspace. What do you think that was all about?
Well, it could be. There's always things that we don't know about that happen. They were certainly flying things into Russia at the start of the Ukraine war, and the administration hushed it all up. So that is a possibility. But the bigger issue is that China has been the main backer of Iran for decades. And that includes providing a lot of money, a lot of weapons that the Iranians have given to Hezbollah, Hamas, the Houthis as well. And now China actually buys 90% of Iran's oil. So that's about 20% of Iran's GDP.
There you have it. So the conflict, despite what people think, has a global dimension. You can clearly see there is an active theater of tension between the US and China, not only in the tariffs and commerce and competition as the world's 2 largest superpowers, but there is also competition in and around the Pacific, specifically over Taiwan. So China is probably sitting back looking at this thinking, okay, you know what? You're able to do that. So we need to take over Taiwan. It is a possibility. And again, Iranian parliament voting to close the strait has to be approved by the Iranian supreme leader. So whether Trump's decision to go to war over this over these illegal, I would call it illegal airstrikes, to be honest, because you just can't go and invade nations. We know how that worked out in Afghanistan, in Iraq, in Vietnam. Wars are really terrible. People suffer, people die. And without taking sides, you can actually be, I mean, again, I am very close to the epicenter of this. So it does actually have a personal connotation for me because my safety depends on it too. Let's not get it twisted, guys. This is a crisis. Whether people want to brush it off, if they end up agreeing a deal and they sign up, then I would be absolutely delighted because these markets are raring to go. Let's see what J.D. Vance has said.
Vice President, thank you for joining us. The big question, is the United States now at war with Iran?
No, we're not at war with Iran, John. We're at war with Iran's nuclear program, and I think the president took this.
Again, this is a narrative in the media that the White House is putting out. We're not in war with you. We're just going to go and shoot some nuclear atoms. Well, the US is a signatory to the Non-Proliferation Act. So is Iran. Israel is not, right? But what happens if radiation goes beyond the levels of Chernobyl? This is all absolutely not. Nobody needs another crisis of the magnitude of previous crises. I don't think they serve anyone. Especially right now, Trump was onto such a beautiful bill, such a beautiful road on his way to making America first. These ultimately, they drain resources. And of course, people may hype up the CPI report at the end of the month and say, of course, oil prices will show up. So far, things haven't got completely out of hand. And we can actually step back from this. For me, like I said the other day in the VIP post, the world needs a great statesman like Reagan was an American president who was a proper diplomat. He was a movie star / a guy who could get stuff done. But this current team here, look, unbelievable. The guy is saying, we don't have beef with you. So what's beef?
Decisive action to destroy that program last night. If I could step back a little bit, we have to give an incredible amount of gratitude to the troops who did an amazing thing last night. Think about this, John. They flew thousands of miles away, a 30-hour nonstop flight. They never touched down on the ground, and they dropped a 30,000-pound bomb on a target about the size of a washing machine. No military in the world has the training, the skills, and the equipment to do what these guys did last night. I know the president and I are both very proud of them, and I think what they did was accomplish a very core American national objective. Iran cannot have a nuclear weapons program. The president's been very clear about this, and thanks to the bravery and competence and skill of our great pilots and everybody who supported this mission, we took a major step forward for that national objective last night.
It certainly was a complex and overwhelming mission, 125 aircraft involved, we are told. Can you say definitively that Iran's nuclear program has now been destroyed?
Well, John, I don't want to get into the sensitive intelligence here, but we know that we set the Iranian nuclear program back substantially last night.
Look, a nuclear armed Iran is not good for anyone. But I think if they wanted to do it, they would have done it a long time ago, in my opinion. They would have done it a long time ago. So sometimes we need to have the US established a post-global order, the New World Order, post-1945, where justice, liberation, and all of these things. But at the same period, they've literally invaded over 200 different countries. So at some point, you could see here, the markets live right now are bouncing a bit. But if you start to look at the weekly, then you'd see how much of your cryptocurrencies are in a great discount. So what would I be looking to buy? Like I said, guys, I've made it easy. I've put everything in the thumbnails for you. I have given you levels for virtuals yesterday. If the market further pulls back, it is trading below $1 billion in terms of market cap, and that is solid. So what I'm expecting for Virtuals Protocol is if it comes back to around 85 cents, the levels given in the Discord. By the way, join our VIP Discord, man. $9 a month, non-stop communication and updates regardless of what happens. But I do expect Virtuals Protocol, if it breaks this level here, around this 120 mark, I do believe it'll come down to about 85 cents. So keep an eye on that. Cocoro has been causing a lot of people sleepless nights because it is at $12 million. Volume is good. HTX still shilling it. I do expect Cocoro to come back and do very, very well. Overall, a couple of other meme coins that I would give a mention. Of course, big shout out to Jojo, still in the works. But you've got Nitro here. Nitro got listed to a new exchange. Of course, it is at a very good DCA level. $2.6 million. And of course, it is something that is going to grow as the bull market comes. Hopefully, when it comes, like Julio said, man, see you when you get there. See you when you... All right, another thing that I would be looking at. Now, aerodromes strength is partly to do with the fact that Aerodrome's integration or Base's integration into Aerodrome, and now officially Base will have all shitcoins available. That is incredibly bullish. Again, got a big TVL. TVL is bigger than the market cap. This was probably the best generational buy, but keep an eye out on Aerodrome if it does ever revisit the low levels. Again, probably 50 cent level would be your best opportunity here. Let's have a look at some gaming coins. Beam is, for me, Beam is just undervalued. That's all it is. Beam's going to get up to, you know, at least 5 to 10 billion in this cycle. At least 5 billion. Right now trading at 200 million, fully diluted. Probably the best infrastructure when it comes to gaming. Of course, I do look for value and fully diluted things that I could buy and hold long term, and Arweave is such a coin that can do that. 65 million circulating, 65 million total supply, all in the market. Its third cycle, you know, below $5. Arweave is a steal. And now over to the strongest cryptocurrency in all of crypto, is AO, the computer. It did not drop, it did not budge. It's got such a low supply. Again, AO is one that sits around that $13, $14. AO, the comp. Why is it not coming up? Okay, AO, the computer is, let's just put AO there. It was sitting, I couldn't believe it yesterday. AO was $14, yeah. Despite the entire dip, it literally, although it did pull back after the listing of AO over to the Bybit exchange, it did actually do really well. But since then, it has started to pull back a little bit further, making the price a lot more attractive. Again, you know, Kaspa, we just had it in the Discord. Big up to Pete for posting. But Kaspa did have a lot of big orders coming in, big buys, big wallets, doubling down on some cash. Again, the catalyst here is going to be the smart contracts. And of course, if you could get ahead of that crowd, make sure you do that. 1.7 billion, 17 billion, 10x. Again, you don't even need to go to the 50 to 90 billion, 50 billion, 40 billion. It'd be more than enough for Kaspa this cycle. What else are we looking at? I have given up some gems on the base chain, one in particular, which is doing really, really well. Again, it's crashed a lot, so probably entry is going to be a good consideration. Let's have a look at some of the more depressing situations. aitech has dipped. Market cap is 54 million right now, and aitech at the moment is a little bit stagnant, but I do love the trading volume of $22 million. As long as there's trading volume, guys, there is plenty of life left in the project. One project that will do very well is Ondo Finance. Now, the thing with Ondo is TradFi. I'm looking at this specifically for TradFi. Okay, the community has Ondo, we're in Ondo, and again, Ondo I think does an absolute blinders, and it is a generational coin of couple of cycles to come. All right, what else are we looking at? What's happening with Toshi? Toshi is the best meme coin in my opinion on the base blockchain. Toshi tools, Toshi has real utility. I think Toshi does incredibly well regardless of where it is right now. Trading volumes around $2 million. Other meme coins that I'm eyeing, Foxy on Linear, not a lot going on, $5 million market cap. However, the trading volume is healthier than some pretty big plays. Again, will Linear push this at least in a better market condition? That's only one chance to sell this, and that's what I'm actually waiting for right now. Okay, let's have a look at the SUI dexes, starting with Bluefin. Bluefin has a fantastic trading volume. I would love it if it dipped a little bit more. But the current price for Bluefin, 7.5 cents. I think that's a very good value. $23 million market cap. Again, CETAS has fallen off the radar at the moment. 18 million in trading volume and $67 million, 8 cents. So listen, people will forget about the hacks. You know, don't worry about that. Again, Scallop. I love this entire ecosystem. I think it will do well. Sub 10 million. Very good trading volume at around $6 million, because you have to remember Scalab uses it has a lot of liquidity pools and all kinds of trading that goes on there. And Scalab is going to be okay. Banana for Scale has hit $81 million market cap, guys. I don't know if you saw this, but this is a super, super funny DGen one. But yeah, 80 million, 74 million in trading. That is a massive, massive drop. What else would people look at? I mean, again, you know, I can talk about Say. Say is going to be, I think Say is going to run. Say is at $1 billion market cap, guys. The one that actually had a very good run this morning was Sonic, because Sonic is ultimately below 30 cents, $800 million market cap. The drop off here was spectacular yesterday. All right. So those are some cryptocurrencies. Again, you know, like I said, join the DXB Discord. Go grab Tangent in my, you know, to support the channel, you know, use the code DXB, and definitely go and grab Nansen, because Nansen will make the money back for you in no time. Stay safe, stay protected, stay blessed. And of course, you know, who loves orange soda? Is it true? For those of you who know, take care.